Hello everyone, I am Ilsa coming to you live from Jeonju, South Korea. A little bit about me, I am from the Midwest. I grew up in Illinois, went to university in Wisconsin. I got my TEFL certification in early 2021. I completed it in the summer with my practicum. And then I moved abroad end of 2021 and I've been living in Jeonju, South Korea for the last 2 years. Before we get into it, I'm gonna put a little question box right here and feel free to ask me anything about living abroad, living in South Korea, living in Jeonju, teaching in Korea, anything. I will be sure to answer as many as I possibly can today, and I'm so excited to take you along for a day in my life, so let's get into it. So a little bit more about my job here in Korea. So I work at a hagwon here in Jeonju, and I work afternoon hours. So I don't go into work until 1:45 p.m. and I work until 9 p.m. That is not all teaching. When I get to work today, I will show you like the prep time I have and the breaks I have. So I am not working completely from 1:45 to 9 p.m. But I will say I really enjoy working in the afternoon because that means I have my mornings free. I can go to the doctors in the morning. I can run errands. I can go grocery shopping. My most common thing I do is get like lunch or brunch with friends and get coffee with friends. It's nice being able to have a little social life before I go to work, so I'm not waking up every single day, going straight to work and coming home. And that's what I'm doing today. So I am bringing you along. We're going to go to the downtown area and we're going to meet some friends for lunch. But first, I'm going to give you a little apartment tour of my place. A little apartment tour starting in my kitchen. As you can see, I don't have an oven. That's pretty normal here in Korea, but I have a stove, a microwave, a toaster, and an air fryer. Pretty much everything came included in my apartment except for the toaster and the air fryer and this hanging clothes rack. I accumulated all of those from people who were leaving Korea. So I got pretty lucky that I became friends with people leaving, so I was able to accumulate things. I have some bedside tables that are covered in pamphlets and ticket stubs right now because I collect those. Like I said, my hanging clothes rack that I accumulated from someone who was leaving. I also have a TV and a dresser for all my clothes. Oh, and this room is my laundry room, so my washer is in there. I keep all my extra storage, like my luggage in there, but I'm not going to show you because I have laundry hanging currently. And then we just have my bathroom, which is a normal Korean bathroom, nothing special about it. You know, at first I was thrown off by not having a shower divider, but I kind of love it now. So, right now I am in the Jeonju Hanak village. If you don't know anything about Jeonju, this is our biggest tourist attraction. People will come here. We have a famous shrine, we have a cathedral, and it is a famous place to come and dress up in Korean hanbok. If you don't know, that is traditional Korean clothing that you can rent, and it is very cheap in Korea to rent. So that is where I am right now. We're right outside the wall to the shrine. I'm not going to go inside today, so you'll just have to come to Jeonju and see it yourself. But I just thought I would show you a little bit about our famous tourist area because it's beautiful and so many people don't come to Jeonju. Even friends I know who live in Seoul or other areas just don't come to Jeonju, and I personally think Jeonju is beautiful. It's so historical, and I am so happy with my choice to have lived here for 2 years. So, a couple more fun facts about Jeonju for you. The province that Jeonju is located in is actually famous for being the food capital of Korea. So that means the food in Jeonju and the food in the surrounding cities are some of the best foods that you can eat in Korea. And Jeonju specifically is famous for bibimbap, which is a dish consisting of rice, vegetables, gochujang, and sometimes meat or like seafood. And it is so delicious. I'll put a little picture somewhere so you can see it. But it is one of my favorite dishes in Korea, and I have eaten it around Korea, but the Jeonju bibimbap will forever be number one. Nothing will compare to it. And I always joke that when I go on trips outside of Jeonju, I always miss the food in Jeonju because the food is just so good. And that's because we're in the food capital of Korea. After my adventurous morning, I promise that not all of my mornings are this adventurous, but a lot of them are. I'll get out, get coffee, get lunch with friends, but I just wanted to show you a little bit of Jeonju, and now it's time for work. So I am back in my apartment to grab my computer, and now it's time to get to work. Hello, I am home from work and it is time to jump into answering some questions, and we're going to start with these two of the most common questions that I got. First, let's talk rent. So if you don't know, schools in Korea will provide housing. As you saw earlier in this takeover, I showed you my apartment, which is a typical villa that had everything I needed in it: a bed, some furniture, kitchen supplies. But if you do not want to live in provided housing, you can get a housing stipend from your school. It'll usually be a couple hundred, and sometimes schools will help you find housing, but for the most part, you'll be on your own for housing. So if that's something you are interested in, schools will do it. But I highly recommend, at least if you're moving all the way to Korea, stay in the provided housing for a year until you're more comfortable and you know areas more, and then you can get your own place for your second and third year, so on, because you'll know everything a little bit better. And when it comes to airfare, my school did pay. They paid about 1 million won of my flight here that I got reimbursed once I hit my 6-month mark, and that seems like it's pretty common for school. I used two main resources when it came to moving abroad, the first being ITA's job search manual. If you don't know about it, I highly recommend you check it out, especially if you are wanting to move abroad, if you're wanting to change countries, or even if you're just considering it. There are so many good resources on it, and I reached out to multiple recruiters on that job search manual, and it was just a great resource. Personally, I found my job through my other resource, which is Dave's ESL Cafe. It's a recruiting job board. There's a ton of recruiters on there, and I just sent out my resume and my headshot and the dates that I wanted to be in Korea. And I said I didn't want to be in Seoul or Busan. I wanted to be in a smaller area, and I talked to a couple different recruiters. I had some Skype calls with them for them to get to know a little bit more about me and what I was expecting and wanting out of my time in Korea. And I eventually landed my current job, which is in Jeonju, which has been a great fit. So I highly recommend ITA's job search manual as well as Dave's ESL Cafe to find a job here. To find a good hagwon, you just need to ask questions. Talk to your director or your boss, whoever you interview with. Ask them a lot of questions. Go in with questions ahead of time. Ask what materials are provided. Is there technology in the classroom? How long teachers have been there for? Do teachers typically resign? And then ask to talk to a current teacher or the head teacher. I talked to the head teacher and a previous teacher who had been there, and it gave me a lot of ease because I learned that the head teacher had been there 5+ years. So I was like, oh, if a teacher's been there for a while, then there's not many red flags, right? And I feel confident with my decision, so definitely ask a lot of questions. That's the best advice I can give. And when it comes to interview questions, my number one tip is they will ask you why you're coming to Korea. Do not say K-pop, K-drama. Do not say you're coming to travel. Everything needs to be rooted in teaching. You are coming here to teach. You are coming here to work. You need to show them that you are serious about working. My favorite thing about Korea is definitely the culture and the history. Like I said, my degree is in anthropology and religious studies, and so the amount of Buddhist temples, but also Catholic cathedrals that are in Korea, they're absolutely beautiful. I have visited so many temples in Korea, and they're all so different. They're all so unique. And then also just the history, the palaces in Seoul, the Hanok villages all around Korea, the fortress walls that you have in Seoul, Suwon, the tombs in Jeonju. There's so much to see, and the history is just incredible. And it's so fascinating to me. It's by far my favorite thing about living here. When it comes to dress code, I feel like I got very lucky because my school doesn't really have one. So I can wear whatever I want as long as it's not athletic wear or sweatpants or like leggings. And it's nice because I can dress up and wear dresses some days, or I can show up in like jeans and a flannel. So it's nice having that flexibility because I know not everyone does. The other big thing I wanted to talk about is tattoos and piercings. So I have facial piercings. I also have tattoos all over my body, and I do not have to worry about covering them or taking out my piercings. I had to wear masks for my first year and a half here, and so my boss did make a comment about when we'd take off masks, like maybe we'd revisit facial piercings, but she has never made a comment, and so my facial piercings have stayed in. My coworkers' nose rings have stayed in, and we've never had that conversation, so we all keep our piercings in. And then when it comes to tattoos, I've never been asked to cover any of them. Most of my coworkers have tattoos, and large tattoos, so it's not an issue. No, you do not need to be fluent in Korean to teach in Korea. And honestly, for the most part, it seems like it is a pretty standard rule that schools in Korea do not want the foreign teacher speaking Korean in the class. Yes, if you teach younger students, you're probably going to be speaking a little bit of Korean in class, but I teach high-level students and middle schoolers, so there has rarely been instances where I have had to speak Korean in class. And so, no, you don't need to be fluent to teach here, but you need to learn the language if you're going to live in Korea. You need to be able to read Hangul, you need to know the basic phrases, and just learn more while you're here because it's going to make life so much easier. So many apps you use to get around in Korea are only in Korean. Like, you just need to know the language. So while you might not need to be fluent to teach here, learning the language for any country, whether you come to South Korea to teach or anywhere, you need to learn the language. No, you do not need to be fluent in Korean to teach in Korea. And honestly, for the most part, it seems like it is a pretty standard rule that schools in Korea do not want the foreign teacher speaking Korean in the class. Yes, if you teach younger students, you're probably going to be speaking a little bit of Korean in class, but I teach high-level students and middle schoolers, so there has rarely been instances where I have had to speak Korean in class. And so, no, you don't need to be fluent to teach here, but you need to learn the language if you're going to live in Korea. You need to be able to read Hangul, you need to know the basic phrases, and just learn more while you're here because it's going to make life so much easier. So many apps you use to get around in Korea are only in Korean. Like, you just need to know the language. So while you might not need to be fluent to teach here, learning the language for any country, whether you come to South Korea to teach or anywhere, you need to learn the language. When it comes to dress code, I feel like I got very lucky because my school doesn't really have one. So I can wear whatever I want as long as it's not athletic wear or sweatpants or like leggings. And it's nice because I can dress up and wear dresses some days, or I can show up in like jeans and a flannel. So it's nice having that flexibility because I know not everyone does. The other big thing I wanted to talk about is tattoos and piercings. So I have facial piercings. I also have tattoos all over my body, and I do not have to worry about covering them or taking out my piercings. I had to wear masks for my first year and a half here, and so my boss did make a comment about when we'd take off masks, like maybe we'd revisit facial piercings, but she has never made a comment, and so my facial piercings have stayed in. My coworkers' nose rings have stayed in, and we've never had that conversation, so we all keep our piercings in. And then when it comes to tattoos, I've never been asked to cover any of them. Most of my coworkers have tattoos, and large tattoos, so it's not an issue. My favorite thing about Korea is definitely the culture and the history. Like I said, my degree is in anthropology and religious studies, and so the amount of Buddhist temples, but also Catholic cathedrals that are in Korea, they're absolutely beautiful. I have visited so many temples in Korea, and they're all so different. They're all so unique. And then also just the history, the palaces in Seoul, the Hanok villages all around Korea, the fortress walls that you have in Seoul, Suwon, the tombs in Jeonju. There's so much to see, and the history is just incredible. And it's so fascinating to me. It's by far my favorite thing about living here. Let's talk about food real quick. So first of all, is Korea vegan friendly? Seoul, you can find some vegan and vegetarian options, but outside of Seoul, you're gonna have some issues. I know, like, Jeonju, we used to have a really good vegan place that moved to Seoul, so it's no longer here. And I'm sure you can find some places in Busan, and I'm sure it is possible, but for the most part, it seems like the vegan vegetarian scene is mainly in Seoul just because it is the capital and it has more options. When it comes to the rest of the food, of how it was adjusting, I will always say that I'm a wimp when it comes to spice, but my spice tolerance has definitely gone up living here. And also just the more you try things, you figure out what you like, you keep eating it, you try new things, then you keep eating that, then you try even more things. So definitely just like give everything a chance. I always say I'll try everything once, and you know, if I don't like it, I never have to eat it again. I definitely wish I would have known that I was going to be thrown in head first. I knew that it was going to be an adjustment, and I knew that it was going to be a lot, but I had 5 days of training, and it seems like for Hagwons, that is like on the higher end of training. I know people who had like 1 day or no days of training, so being prepared to be thrown in head first definitely would be up there for things I wish I was ready for, prepared for. But I think that's also why I chose ITA to get my certification through, because I knew that I would have practicum hours and have that experience, even though it's not formal teaching experience. But it's something that it got me comfortable in the classroom, it got me comfortable working with students. And so even though I was stressed, and even though I was overwhelmed, and even though it was a lot of information at once, and I wanted to cry, I knew that I could do it. I just had to take a deep breath and just breathe. I definitely recommend asking a lot of questions when you're training, and even in your first week. Ask questions, write everything down. There's no such thing as a dumb question. The best way to stay in contact with friends and family back home is definitely through social media and technology, scheduling those FaceTime dates on major holidays, calling friends and family to say hi quickly. I always try to talk to my parents once a month just to catch up, say hi, see what's going on in their life, tell them what I've been doing, what travels I've been up to. And same with friends. I'll just randomly shoot them a text whenever a memory comes up and I want to send it to them, or I'll just say hi, or whatever. I feel like there's so many little ways for you to stay connected to your friends and family back home. Yes, it is hard with the time difference. Yes, it is an adjustment and you have to navigate it, and it can be hard. But like, social media and technology honestly make it so easy. It's never been easier to be thousands of miles away from home than it is right now. So as I've said, I do not teach kindy. The lowest grade level I teach is 2nd grade all the way up to middle school. And if I had to pick a favorite age, I would have to say like 5th grade to middle school, just because they're so chaotic and dramatic. I love that I can have a conversation with them. I love teaching the high level, the high curriculum, that I'm actually teaching content, not like with my younger students where I'm just doing 2-page and copying like a sentence on the board. I actually enjoy the like teaching aspect of teaching higher levels, but also just like being able to talk to them, ask them about their day, learn about what's going on, talk about their trips. Like, it really has been incredible teaching a higher level, and I definitely want to continue teaching higher elementary and middle school in the future. And speaking of the future, I am finishing up my time here in Jeonju. I have been here for 2 years. I cannot believe it's almost over. I have less than a month left here. It's gone by so quickly. I'm so grateful for my time here. I have had an amazing experience, but I'm just ready for something new. And yes, I'm going to move somewhere else. So I do not know where yet. I am going back to Wisconsin for the holidays to see my family and friends. I'm hoping for a white Christmas. But after that, I will be traveling some, taking some time off to just rest. And then I will be getting back into the job hunt. And I am hoping to come back to Asia. I'm not sure where yet, but I'm looking at maybe Thailand, Vietnam. I have some options. I'm keeping my options open. If you have any recommendations, let me know. But I'm really excited. It's definitely sad to close this chapter in Korea, but I'm really excited to start my teaching journey elsewhere. My biggest piece of advice for anyone wanting to teach in South Korea, but just teach in general, is just to say yes to the experience. You're not going to know how it is or how it's going to go until you try. And I am such a firm believer of I would rather try than fail than never try at all. And you know what? Teaching contracts are for only a year. A year is so short in the scheme of things. So if you move for a year and you hate it, then you go back to your home country and you find another career. But if you move abroad and you love it, this could be your career. Living abroad, living an absolute dream, traveling the world, seeing new cultures, having all these amazing experiences. Just say yes to it. Say yes to new people, to the opportunities, to the experiences. It honestly is life-changing. I remember watching these takeovers when I first got certified, and I was like, oh, like I wish that could be me. And what a full circle moment. Here I am now giving advice to people who want to do this after 2 years here. Friends, I had such a blast showing you around Jeonju today. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope I showed you the beauty. I love this city so much, the city that I've called a home for 2 years. And it's honestly such an underrated city because I feel like everyone wants to come to South Korea. Everyone wants to live in Seoul or Busan. But consider Jeonju if you're considering South Korea because it's just a little perfect city in the center of the country. It's so easy to get to other cities from Jeonju. It is honestly incredible. And need I say the food again? If I have not convinced you with the food by now, I don't know if I ever will, but like, chef's kiss, we love the food here. I know I didn't get to everyone's questions, but it is time for me to say good night. And so I'm going to put my handle over here. And if you have any more questions that I did not get to, please feel free to DM me. My DMs are always open. I love answering your questions. Or if you just want to come say hi, feel free to do that as well. I had an absolute blast taking over today. Thank you to ITA for letting me do this. And I hope you guys enjoyed seeing a day in the life here in Jeonju. I hope you have an incredible rest of your week, and I hope to see you around the world sometime. Bye!